Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Heyo, happy Memorial Day!
Hey, happy Memorial Day to those who celebrate.
To those who celebrate the memories of Memorial Day. Memorializing.
Of the
What do you got? Memories of what?
the memories of soccer games past.
Memories of soccer games. Memorial Day is celebrating the memory of our grandparents beating the crap out of each other. As one of my favorite comedy friends put on his Twitter, I was like, yeah, that is true, isn't it?
Well, we're happy, even though we, even as Germans, we're happy the Americans won.
Yeah, we got to go eat hamburgers and stuff.
So we are, so we do celebrate. We do celebrate their efforts and are grateful. I certainly feel grateful.
If it was the other way around, this would be an all-German podcast in Germany.
Oh my God, let's not even.
And we talk the Bundesliga, and we talk MLS as an exotic foreign league that we follow from afar. Although we'd probably not even be MLS fans, would we? That's probably the worst outcome of the alternate.
Why do you say that? Because we would have just never left.
Yeah, probably. You and me would probably be propaganda ministers right now. Would we be working the propaganda department? The Bundesliga is the best podcast. Anywho,
it's hard
Memorial
to
Day.
It's hard to imagine Memorial Day. Yay! Now,
you know how I learned it was Memorial Day? Sorry,
what do you mean?
About to start something. I was at work and no one came in, and I was like, "Oh, today must be a holiday." So I googled it. I'm like, "Oh, today's Memorial Day." That shows you how out of the loop I am.
Today? Oh,
no,
wow!
No,
wow!
I never know when. I didn't even know it was Easter. I was like hanging out on a Sunday, and I googled, and it was just like, "Oh, it's Easter."
I guess I mean, when you have children, I guess you're more. I'm
right.
Always aware of these things. Well, I was upstate at our friend's house near Lake George, which they have an annual shindig, pig roast, badminton tournament.
Right.
Lots of good food, lots of drinking, hanging out, lots of wonderful people. It was a great time. Lots of everything except internet access. Very limited media exposure. And whatever time I had to focus on soccer, I focused on the final match day of the Bundesliga. So I really barely watched anything this weekend. So you got to catch me up.
I'll catch you up. So, Lake George is, for those of you who don't know, is upstate. It's right next to Lake Jerry, Lake Elaine, and Lake Kramer. So we got Lake Kramer, we got Lake Elaine, Lake Jerry, Lake George. And you know what's fun about the lake? Nothing. Nothing's ever going on at the lake.
Nothing's funny.
It's a show about nothing. I was doing a little Seinfeld joke.
But there was certainly, it's funny because we had
a lake about nothing.
This was not the only Seinfeld reference that came up this weekend, because we had some. My friend's house is on a lake, not Lake George, but a smaller lake.
Lake Elaine.
More of a pond, really. I guess it could be Kramer Pond.
Pond.
Their dock, they have a little dock where from which they launch canoes, or the kids go swimming, etc. And the dock was sagging, and there had to be some repairs. And one guest sort of volunteered to go into the lake to kind of help fix this dock. And there was and he was in the water for so long, and it was quite cold, that there was shrinkage. There were shrinkage jokes. The Seinfeld episode was quoted where George where potential girlfriend, right, sees him naked right after he
Or
comes
is-
out of the
right.
and he's then worried that she'll judge his manhood, and he's like, I was in the water, I was in
Shrinkage.
the water. Yeah, shrinkage. Anyway,
True story. True story. I always have growage. Usually, I have growage problems.
you have growage problems when you go in the water.
Yeah, it's ice cold.
Things get bigger.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah, I don't know. I do not. I have shrinkage like everybody else. Anyway, speaking of Daniel Young, speaking of nothing, Daniel Young, so you were not at Citi Field, is what you're saying.
I was
You were
not
out of
at
town.
Citi Field. I was out of town. This is one of the few. I really do not miss.
No,
I do not miss a lot of games. I was invited to a stadium focus group last week, and they asked me, how many games do you go to a season? And I said that I think I have missed fewer than 10 home games total in the entire existence of the team. I don't know. I'd have to really see if that's true. But I
should have lied and said I've never missed one, and then they'll make a thing out of you.
That would not be true.
Who cares?
That's demonstrably untrue. But I don't miss a lot of games. This one I missed Daniel Young, but I will see. I have a T-shirt for you, Daniel Young. So I will bring it on Wednesday. Let me know if you're coming, because we have 2 more home games, Yankee Stadium, Wednesday night, Saturday night. If you tell me when you're coming, I'll bring it. I'll bring it for you.
Who are you guys playing on Wednesday again?
It's Cincinnati on Wednesday and New England on Saturday. It's not going to get any easier for our poor, struggling team.
Yeah, the Philadelphia, I didn't see a lot of it, but I heard there was a pretty key missed penalty moment in the middle of the game that kind of turned the tides against you guys.
Oh, we should have had a penalty?
Yeah, the talk on the boards, the Philadelphia fans have come on the New York City Reddit boards and said, I hate you guys. However, you guys should have gotten a penalty. That was a bad call.
I think
Philly was Andre Blake. Didn't he topple someone in the box?
I only watched highlights. I didn't hear about that. I did see. I mean, it was. I think we played pretty well. We got Gabi Pereira got the early goal and then hit the crossbar. So I think things went pretty well, and then we gave out 2 goals in first half stoppage time, and they were both pretty painful. Like kind of speculative ball over the top that drops in between 2 defenders, and it was just Thiago Martins has had a great year for us so far. He's been a real rock solid defender, but he did not have a good game. He gave a penalty then for the 3rd goal. So I think there may be some things to feel good about, because the first half, I think up to that point, was probably pretty good. And even if you add this penalty up to it, but yeah, we just give up some cheap goals this year, and there's not even any. It's odd because there's not even any kind of any kind of pattern to it. Like we were giving up a lot of set piece goals. This was not that. These were just kind of long balls over the top that we should deal with, but we didn't. I don't know. It's interesting. We're young. It's a young team. I mean, I keep saying this. We knew this was going to be
a Gurken season.
Perhaps a Gurken saison. I don't know.
Gurken season.
A bit of a rebuild, maybe.
Sour season for those uninitiated.
But we'll see. We get 2 more. We have 2 more. I mean, we've really struggled on the road so far this season. At home, we've been pretty good up to this before this game. So we now get 2 more chances, but it's not going to be easy. Cincinnati and New England are both, especially Cincinnati, really on a roll. So we are mercilessly finding out where we stand, and it's not. We're not a playoff team right now.
No, but thankfully it's a very forgiving season, and I think NYCFC and the New York Red Bulls, who are slowly having a very similar season, are only. I think the New York Red Bulls are only 3 points off the playoff spot. Like 1 win will put us right in there, so it's 9th place and above. And I think we're even only a handful of points off 6th. Like it's very tight there in the middle. But the New York Red Bulls traveled to Seattle and they lost 1-0. It was a decent game, back and forth, but Seattle at home. Jordan Morris scored the winner and broke his hamstring while scoring about 17 minutes in. He did not celebrate. He hobbled off the field crying, and that might be the last we see Jordan Morris until the summer tournaments are over. So, typical Jordan Morris with his injury worries. I don't, maybe I'm being dramatic. I don't know what his injury situation is, but he got himself right off the field right after he scored the goal. And he hasn't scored a goal in like 9 or 10 or 11 or 100 games or whoever you ask. And it was good for him to get a goal, but right back to the injury table for him, unfortunately. Seattle won, but New York Red Bulls, Elias Manuel had a beautiful one-on-one with the keeper, and he kicked it right at the keeper. Elias Manuel can't finish. That storyline is still going on. He's putting himself in good places, but when it comes to knipsing, to finishing, to getting it done, he's either off frame or right to the keeper. For whatever reason, he can't figure out how to maybe do a little bit. For whatever reason, he can't figure out how to finish, So I hope he becomes a better finisher. Dante Van Zier only played 45 minutes because in midweek, the New York Red Bulls played Cincinnati in the U.S. Open Cup, and we held them to a tough, and Cincinnati is the best team in the East, and we held them for 120 minutes and lost some penalties because one penalty was missed by Dante Van
Zier, who scored the stoppage time equalizer to even get you to the penalty.
True.
So Dante, as I was texting you, Dante giveth and Dante taketh away.
I think a lot of the hate after the game was sent to Ryan Meara, our faithful number 2 goalkeeper, New York Red Bulls legend, and I find that to be nonsense. You can't expect a goalkeeper to block penalties.
NYCFC legend, you mean?
He was there for what, 1 season on the bench, right? Did he go to the New York Cosmos? He played for. I think Ryan Meara played for all of them.
Interesting. Yeah.
Ryan Meara was a young Irish American. I think he even played for the Irish U18s, but he is American. And NYCFC, everyone's the Cosmos. But he played for Long Island Rough Riders and the Jersey Express. He's a New York legend.
Been up and down the tri-state area.
He was a great young keeper. We're really excited about him, but he got a terrible side injury. And one of our obscure signings was a man named Luis Robles, who they got off contract from Karlsruhe's second team. He moved back to New York, not wanting to get into soccer. He was getting into real estate. And he saw the Red Bulls had tryouts, and they offered health insurance for his young family. So he's like, sure, I'll go. He tried out. He signed. Rest is history. Became a New York Red Bulls legend.
A legend.
And Ryan Meara didn't go anywhere. He just came back healthy and just sat himself on the bench. He's been a good, healthy, happy bench warming. If Carlos Coronel were to leave or whatever, and we never sign a replacement, it's just Ryan Meara, I'd be fine with him as I keep. Okay. Anyway, no hate for Ryan Meara is what I'm saying. The fans should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, I mean, I think he guessed right a couple times. He got very little. I did see this. I didn't see the game. I saw the shootout, and he guessed right, but he got very little lift. So I don't know. Now riddle me this though. They brought in Carlos Coronel as a field player. They made So
they made the
shirt. The regular goalie, Ryan Meara, started the game. He's the substitute goalie. The regular goalie of the New York Red Bulls, Carlos Coronel. Somebody went to the team store,
right,
to get a jersey for him, a field player jersey that has a number 1 on it,
right,
so that he could come in overtime.
Because he's a good kicker. So they wanted. Yeah, you don't see that much. I remember when that happened, I was like, oh, we don't see this every day. And then later I learned he made it in the kit shop at the stadium, which I'm like, oh, I thought they just had one ready.
They didn't have a shirt for him, so somebody had to run up to the. That's what I read, yeah.
Update, that shirt is now available as a sweepstake winner thing. Like they sent an email out, you can win that shirt in a sweepstakes or something, the Carlos Cornell red player shirt.
I don't want
But anyway, so the choice seemingly was Ryan Meara is going to be our goalkeeper. We just need Carlos Cornell to kick one. He's a good kicker. So I think that's what they did. Put him out on literally the last call, and then for him to go up and kick one. I'm trying to think. He must have done it. He must have scored.
Somebody was speculating I heard speculating because Ryan Miro's on a yellow. Somebody was saying
The
how
standby. That can't be because that was the last whistle of the game. I mean, why would that? It's
what?
not. I don't know what that is. There was literally he subbed on. I think there was one corner kick, and then that was the end. It was penalty.
Right, no, but because I heard somebody speculate that because Ryan Miro's on a yellow, and so because this happened to Orlando in that fateful playoff game against us, the goalie was on a yellow, and then he came off the line prematurely during one of the kicks, and that's a yellow card offense. So if you are on a yellow and you get a yellow for that, then you're going to be sent off. So they wanted to have another goalie there to
Very smart. Very smart by Troy was saying. I didn't. That's the first time hearing of it. If it's true, I am curious who the kickers were. Is there a way of figuring that out in New York? Because I wonder if Carlos Cornell, I think he did step up and kick one and win. Brazilians are very good at penalties. They play them all the time and practice them.
Brazilians are good. This is one of those. This is one of those things you say where I just am like, what are you talking about?
As a man who lived in Brazil, I'm going to pull the Brazil card. We love penalties. We kick them all the time. Maybe here we go. Where are the goals?
What about Germans? Germans no good at penalties.
Germans are also very good at penalties. They practice them in the Deutsche in the German national team documentary. Thomas Muller missed a penalty, so he had to wear a dress and serve all the players at lunch the next day. They give themselves the English are like, you can't practice penalties, and Germans are like, oh yeah, watch us go practice penalties, and they practice penalties. The Germans always win penalties. Anywho. Right now the feeling with the New York Red Bulls is we're just happy that we're looking better. I mean, we're scoring, we're creating attacking opportunities. On the New York Red Bulls podcast, they mentioned that under Struber, we've attacked through the middle like 0 times. Like that never happened under Struber. It was always crosses, and now we're finally seeing us move the ball forward in a variety of ways. So it's like
the
nice.
illusion of chance creation. the cross into the box. Yeah,
exactly. And so we're just happy. We held Cincinnati to a tie. That was a pretty good sign. And I think they had 1 or 2 players gone. We had 1 or 2 players gone. It wasn't like the El Clasico game where LAFC versus the Galaxy, which I would have gone if prices weren't outrageously expensive. And LAFC fielded their youth team, and they didn't even put any senior players on the bench. They didn't bring anybody. It was just their youth guys. And then the Galaxy came with their starters, and they scored. They won, and they did their thing. And then Giorgio Chiellini called what's his face, Ricky Puig, a clown afterwards because he scored a goal like Messi and celebrated like Messi, and a little off field.
You're the LA guy. Where do you stand? Where do you stand on this controversy?
I stand on the fact that Chiellini is committed to his fans and his club, and it's nice that he'll go through the effort of poo-pooing on the Galaxy star player. That's nice to see from a DP.
Well, it was a little much, no? He taking his shirt off and showing it to the.
He's happy. I don't know. If a player wants to celebrate, let him celebrate. I don't know.
They're beating the LAFC B team. I don't know. Like, halt den Ball flach.
Ricky Puig is not from the Ruhr.
Lieber den Ball mal flach halten. That's
Ricky Puig. Ricky Puig is from.
Keep the ball on the ground.
Like, yeah, but Ricky Puig is Spanish, Bjorn. Spaniards don't do that. Neither do Italians.
I don't have to like it.
Before we move on with Italian DPs, let's catch up here. Daniel Young in the chat and Tom in the chat. Daniel Young and Tom
has things to say about Jordan Morris. He would like to see him in the Gold Cup if not injured. I think you probably would if he wasn't.
Tom says Morris wasn't scoring because he got moved out of the 9, but because Ruidíaz returned to the lineup, though. Got it. That explained why he didn't score for a while. Good point, Tom. Morris isn't injured. Would like to see him in the Gold Cup. Yeah, me too. I love Jordan Morris. It's a shame. Jordan Morris is a great player. I've talked about this before. I think he has a lot of Landon Donovan in him. And I think the U.S. soccer landscape has changed enough where he's not big news. He's news, but he's not big news. They're focused on Pulisic and Reyna and Tyler Adams and all those guys. But Jordan Morris
also really didn't want to go to Europe when he had the chance.
No, I think he went to he famously turned down Werder Bremen. And Jermaine Jones
And then
revealed
went to,
that he criticized his mentality. Then he went to Swansea City.
For a couple weeks. Yeah. And
Honestly, for
got
like
hurt.
one game. Then he injured himself, which he does, and had to come back home. He went with Paul Areola. Him and Paul Areola, but
Same thing happened to him too. He also got
injured
hurt.
and left, which is a shame.
Wales is dangerous, man.
Yeah, for Americans, Bob Bradley, Paul Areola,
shredding hamstrings and reputations.
Exactly. But anywho, when Jordan Morris is fit and on his form, he's an amazing player. We saw that in 2017 Gold Cup. We saw that beforehand. He was part of the roster in this past World Cup, which is his first World Cup, but he was still getting back from injury. Last season, he was not his old self. This season, finally, after the World Cup, we finally started to see the old Jordan Morris again. So it's a shame he got injured last week.
Like 4 goals in a game, right?
Yeah, I think he did. He's been back and on shape. And this is the Jordan Morris I wish we had in November. But unfortunately, that's not how football works. And as great of a player as he is, he seems to struggle with injuries. So I don't know. I hopefully it's not a serious injury. And I would love to see him take part in the games over the summertime. Definitely, Tom. Daniel Young, I won't be at the stadium on Wednesday, but I'll be there Saturday. My Yankee Stadium seats 237. We need to get you guys to meet. We need to get a meet cute, you guys.
I will bring shirts. Yeah, I'm in 135. We just gotta figure out. Do I come to you? I'll come to you. I'll come to you at halftime, Daniel Young. I will be on the back end of 237 at halftime.
With Saturday. A gun, with a t-shirt gun, right? You shoot it at him.
It's not going to be a t-shirt gun. I'm just going to hand it. I'm going to just going to
gotta get you a cannon.
Just going to politely hand it to you. What were the size? What was the size again? Remind me what your size is, because I have 2. I have one for Hans and one for Daniel Young. Tom,
he was XL. Hans was 2XL. If memory says.
Tom, if you ever come to New York, we'll get you a shirt as well.
Or LA. Tom, if you're ever on any of the coasts.
That's true. Yeah,
either
coast will do.
Yeah, and Tom, you don't have to reveal where you are. It's a secret. We don't want to dox you. It's a secret. But any XL
for Daniel Young. All right.
I got a 2XL on. I have a 2XL.
It's not a competition, Stefan.
Well, I'm about
Bigger is not always better.
In a couple of weeks, I think it's 3XL time. We'll see. So Bjorn, I know this is a little off topic.
You're expanding faster than the t-shirt stretches.
Yeah. Although there is a little stretch to it. Anywho, so we're talking about Giorgio Chiellini, the DP. You want me to catch you up? As far as on the field goes, St. Louis is still crushing. New England at a 3-3.
I said last week how much the Toronto struggles delight me, and there's more was revealed over the week. That's what you're talking about, right?
Well, the name of this episode is Matchdays of Our Lives, because there's just so much juicy goss happening in MLS these days. Not just with Toronto, but with other clubs. But Toronto takes the cake. So Giorgio Chiellini, Italian DP, or is he a TAM player? I think he's a TAM player, but Italian legend over at LAFC. He's not really playing. He's 38 or whatever. He's not a key figure, but he's a fan favorite.
This is a victory lap for him. Yeah, I mean, he's a very likable guy. How can you very likable guy? Chiellini is just.
I'll always remember in the Italy-Spain, it was the semis and it was the penalties, and the Spanish captain was so nervous, and Chiellini was just like hugging him and like laughing and be like, "Here we are, penalties." Clearly, like mind screwing him or whatever. Remember that? I was just like, that is beautiful. Yeah. That's Chiellini. And he's doing that at LAFC. He's a club guy. However, there are other Italian in the leagues, namely 2 guys named Lorenzo Insigne and Fernando Bernardeschi. Bernardeschi. Joe Pesci Bernardeschi. So they had a secret meeting. By the way, The Athletic had you read the Athletic article, right? They have this really beautiful, in-depth article about it, and it just blows me away how a day after this happens, the Athletic can have like a play-by-play beat of exactly all the things that happened. You know, there are ears on the walls of MLS clubs, and they're called the Athletic. The only service that does this kind of reporting. You're not going to get that on MLSsoccer.com. I'll tell you that right now.
No, it's not the Athletic. It's Paul Tenorio, right?
Right, and Tommy Scoops and Tommy Scoops.
Right. Tom Bogert, yeah. Because Sam Stejskal left.
He left to work for Apple TV, and we haven't
in a kind of non-public facing.
Right.
role. Yeah.
Anywho, according to the article, last week we talked about how Bernardeschi said something needs to change. We're not playing soccer, right? We're just kicking the ball long. We don't know what to do with the ball. Blah, 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 blah. So then they had a secret meeting without Bob. And something did change, Bjorn. You know what changed? They got rid of Bernardeschi. That's
for one game, right? Or is this permanent?
Well, for one game. So Bob Bradley made a coach's decision to suspend Bernardeschi, to drop him for a game for discipline issues. And that's the Bob I know. Bob needs to take control of this team. And what did we see? We saw a grinning, laughing, happy Lorenzo Insigne setting up 4 goal-scoring chances. Just last week on the podcast, I criticized him to be of a level of a USL player. I'm like, who is this $50 million guy futzing around in the field? I don't see it. Last weekend, we saw a Lorenzo Insigne unleashed, and Toronto won 2-1. You know, it could have been. It was 2-0. They got they pulled one back late. A good 2-1 win, and Toronto played well. And Lorenzo Insigne was so happy. Him and Bob Bradley were like fist bumping after the game. It's like, if I didn't know any better, I would say for Insigne, because this article insinuates that Insigne and Bernardeschi do not get along. They are not friends. They are butting heads.
Well, also in the article it said like how Bernardeschi had all kinds of demands, that he felt like he should make as much money as Insigne, and then
the OVO thing, right, which you talked about last week. The OVO Drake partnership,
right? The partnership. What has Bernardeschi ever done in his career that he would command some kind of a superstar? This is the problem. I feel like this is the problem when you have this kind of roster construction in MLS, where you have these like these guys who are not that hot shit. What is he? And all of a sudden he feels like he should be the king of the castle. So yeah, I mean, again, I watch and read it with delight and Schadenfreude, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see where this takes us. I mean, also the whole Bradley situation this was also a big part of the article, that a lot of players don't feel like they can speak freely because Michael Bradley, the captain, is Bob's son, and they apparently carpool together to and from practice, so the players feel like whatever they say will make its way from via Michael to Bob, and so it doesn't seem like things are going well in Toronto.
No, but also, so the other thing was they couldn't trust Michael as team captain because he's the coach's son. It's true. Of course, there's validity to it. And the fact that whenever you tell Michael goes to the coach, but to me, I've never been on a professional team. How important is it for the players to have a privacy against the coach? I guess it's important. I guess it helps them bound them together.
Every once in a while, you gotta just let off steam, and you don't want to have somebody tattling to
pop a coach. But but this is not the first time a father and son have been coach and player, right? That happens. Uncles and nephews.
Not that much.
Yeah. I guess it's a weird situation, I guess. But maybe Michael Bradley should have taken on. I don't know. I guess it is a weird situation. Maybe Michael Bradley needs to suspend the captain's armband. I don't know how to fix that. But then again, I also don't know how important it is. I don't know. Like the coach is in charge. Head coach is in charge. What I will say is the fans seem to really like Bernardeschi because even though he's been a weird diva off the field, on the field he's been kind of producing, doing their thing, being their guy. And the fans would choose Bernardeschi over Bob. But Bob dropped Bernardeschi as head coach and they won a good game. And I'm curious moving forward if Bernardeschi is just going to be frozen out.
Wait, how do you know this? How do you know that the fans would pick Bernardeschi over Bob?
I guess you're right. I think it is silly to say all of the fans have one voice. I'm sure there's a lot of different voices. But on Twitter and Reddit,
like that's
where I follow, that's
right.
The impression I get vibes.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess Bob has not. He's had a lot of time, and it has not gone all that well.
The Bob Bradley's statement is Bob Bradley has made a coach's decision to remove Bernadeschi from the game time roster, and the direct response was the fans have made a fans decision to remove Bob Bradley from the bench or something like that. That was like their response to that.
Oh, interesting.
So clearly they're like, and like you said, under Bob, they've been a total whirlwind disaster. Like apparently the locker room is very, very toxic there.
This is
and Bob hasn't
so
fixed it.
Over.
Yeah, and Bob and Michael and the Michael Bob Bradley situation hasn't fixed it. And what's crazy about all this is Michael Bradley played in Italy for many years, or several years, maybe not many. And like back in the days when a couple Americans were leaned on a little more than they are today in Europe for bigger clubs. But like, it's clear that Bernadeschi is a good player, but it is clear that maybe he's doing this thing where, as opposed to an Edvard Löwen, where he's Edvard Löwen's coming to the league just working hard, being the best he can be, where Bernadeschi's coming to the league being like, I'm from Serie A. Okay, we're the shits over there.
Where's my butler? Where's my
right.
butler? Where's my I'm gonna be no, it's no good. It's no good.
Lorenzo Insigne was quoted as saying the MLS was much tougher than they thought it was. It's funny how all the people coming from Serie A say that. It's like they have no TV over there and they're all little I don't know. How do Germans look at Italians again? What's the best way to explain that to an American audience?
I don't know. The what? Say again.
How do Germans look at Italians? I don't know. Like, what's his face? Who was it? Was it Julian Nagelsmann criticizing Juventus's training methods?
And because is that I guess Well, I don't know. Not everybody thinks that way. Like. But yeah, it's a little more relaxed. Serie, I mean, at this point, Serie A is the retirement league of Europe. No, like there's a lot of. I mean,
Zlatan just turned 50. I think.
Yeah, Zlatan is still going. Edin Dzeko scored in the Champions League semifinal.
Oh, Gigi Buffon just won a game for Parma.
Gigi Buffon is still
at
there.
45.
Hendrik Mkhitaryan, we were talking about. He's out there. Like, yeah. So this is. They should not be. They should not come to MLS and think they're hot shit. I mean, really, they should not. No. Certainly not Bernadeschi. Like, what? Anyway,
he was with Juventus, right? He was a Juventus player. Juventus is a
but
big
on
club.
The other hand, Bob Bradley also, deserves some criticism. I mean, they spent more money than anyone in the league, and they've been terrible.
But Bob didn't do that. I think they did that before Bob. They brought Bob in later.
I mean, but
a lot of criticisms on Bill Manning, the general manager of the club, and this kind of leads to kind of my next topic here.
All right, let's hear it.
The fans. So, I've been reading the Borussia Dortmund, a book about Borussia Dortmund, and we just talked about Germany and the German fans there, how they have monthly fan meetings and they've got fan liaison officers who work for the club, and the fans and the clubs are constant talking to each other and in point. And I think even in Borussia Dortmund's case, the fans have all created a large conglomerate and have actually bought a percentage of the club. So the fan group are minority owners of that exact club. So, it's a very interesting dynamic. Versus here in MLS, the owners and the coaches and the managers, they just do what they do. And the fans, they really could care less what the fans have to say. They're not really listening. The fans have to make big statements. Like we're seeing a lot. So in Toronto, they're really criticizing Bill Manning because in that same article, he went on Transfermarkt. You saw that a lot of Italians were in Toronto cheering on the Italian national team.
Yep.
And he's like, I should get a couple Italians.
Who's
out of contract? I got 2 Italians. Who's out of contract?
Yeah.
And that's, and my favorite MLS player of all time is a man named Sebastian Giovinco who played for Toronto FC. Mm-hmm. He was an amazing player. And they kind of wanted it again with Lorenzo Insigne. And I guess time will tell if that has worked out. But anywho, this isn't the way to do it. So they're criticizing him and his work and how he does things. And here in LA, they've been criticizing Chris Klein and Greg Vanney and Karofsky and all the stuff that's going on in LA Galaxy. And LA Galaxy are in such a spiral whirlwind failure. I think over the weekend they lost 1-0. I think that was their game. What did they lose to? They lost 1-0 to Galaxy. Lost 1-0 to Charlotte at home, and they even had a Silly little red card. I think. Oh, Javier Chicharito got himself a red card. Another red card for Chicharito. No goals, just cards. And after the game, those stadiums are so weird because they're so empty. Well, how do I do this again? I'm going to share a little bit of media here. I think this is it. So after the game, all right. After the game, share. I'll do my StreamYard thingy thing here. Is it this thing? Share. You see that, right?
I do.
Okay, so after the game, look at the stadium, by the way. You'll see that the stadium's just so empty these days. And then the fan group, of the 3 fan groups, one has broken the boycott and they're gone. They're coming. So they're at the stadium. And the fan group that is showing up, much to the chagrin of the other fan groups, are, after the game, yelling at the players. Take a look at this. So just to the fans at home. So right now the players are just there like statues, looking at the fans as the fans are demanding they want better.
Greg
from
Vanney
them.
looks like he's going to talk to them.
Yes, and Greg Vanney, who slowly wandered over, is telling us now he's going to go talk to the fans, probably to say that it's his fault. Don't blame the players. Now, what's the body language of Greg Vanney right now talking to the fan group?
We want what?
The fan group's yelling, "We want better." Bum, 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 bum. We want better. And Greg Vanney right now is like yelling at the fans. They're like in a heated verbal confrontation. I wish I get a transcript of what's going on. We want better. Well, that goes on for a bit. So he's talking to this fan for like a full minute, explaining things. I'd love to know exactly what they're saying.
Animatedly talking to fans, yeah.
And the fans. And then a suit now enters the frame. He comes in and he tells Greg Vanney, "Stop, let's just get out of here." A suit's coming in to try to stop all this. And a suit, I mean an LA Galaxy executive. I think that's Will Kuntz, the new guy they signed right from LAFC, the new associate president or whatever his position is. So there you have it. That's what was going on at the end of the LA Galaxy game when they lost 1-0 at home to Charlotte, and their skid continues. So, what do you think about that? Those seeds.
Well, what do I think about that? I mean, the fans are frustrated. The team is bad. I don't know if I'm not sure what good can come from the coach having a discussion with the fans. I don't know. What is he going to say that could make a
especially at that moment, right after the game. But I don't look at the players. They're all just sitting there looking at a guy. There must have been a very serious argument going on between one specific member. But it's just such ugly scenes in general. And the coach having to come in. This is the alternate timeline of the match days of our lives. We talked about Toronto. Now we got Galaxy not failing to disappoint. Every week, it just seems to get worse and worse over there. And it makes me... Now, should the fans be so disrespectful to the team right then and there? As you say, going back to being like a fan of Bochum, or like the German mentality of like, we have a club, we're there every other week, we're there to drink and have a good time and watch the team and wish them the best. We're not there to demand titles week in and week out.
Yeah, it's a little... I mean, it's a mixed bag, right? I agree. It's sort of, we were celebrating them a few weeks ago for demanding accountability and doing, but on the other hand, it's like, your role is to support. Your role is to be there and support. It's not like to second guess necessarily. I mean, there's always, of course, there's always things that will get people upset, and rightfully so. And you have your right to your opinion, but in general, yeah, I think it's like, yeah, go have a good time as much as you can. And I don't know. Daniel Young is saying he doesn't know why Nick Cushing still has a job. I mean, sometimes also things are just, I mean, it's not the same. I think the LA Galaxy, there's a long standing. I think people have grievances that are real, right? Like
I'd like to add, though,
and,
this group has broken the boycott to go to the stadium to do this.
So only
they've changed.
They've broken the boycott only to argue, to be able to argue with the coach.
Right, and I don't think that's class on any level. If you want to commit to the boycott, that I understand, because I understand where they're coming from. You're holding them accountable. Like, the Galaxy is clearly spiraling, and the choices they've made are the opposite of what Bayern München's doing. Bayern München just won a title and fired their executive staff. LA Galaxy have lost a title 10 years in a row and have re-signed their executive staff. They're the exact opposite, pretty much, which is why you're seeing kind of an empty stadium and the Galaxy's like not really pulling in much. And then, but for the fans of one group to be like, you know what, screw it, we're going to the stadium. And then for them to yell at the players after the game, it's very reminiscent of kind of what Schalke did 2 years ago when they attacked the players for being relegated. It's actually the same behavior. Right now, Galaxy's in a relegation position. Like, they would be relegated if this were Europe. Right,
they would be in danger. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, and so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm of the German Ruhrgebiets. Like, I mean, as a Bochum, my team in Germany, Bochum, it's like I've learned to have low expectations. I don't, I get excited when things go well, and I don't get too upset when they don't. And I think it's sometimes it's also just bigger picture. I think Nick Cushing, just getting back to Daniel.
Yeah, the NYCFC. That's a little extreme, I think. Don't you think?
I think so too. I think he has found solutions in the past. The premise is this team is basically a new team. The entire spine was lost and hasn't really been replaced. Collins, Sean Johnson, Collins, Maxi Morales, and Tati Castellanos. And we have Tati Castellanos, we really don't have a replacement. Maxi Morales, we got Richie Ledesma, which, and Santi Rodriguez, who was already there, but Alex Kahns we haven't replaced. And Sean Johnson we've replaced with Luis Barraza, who's been good. But he's a young goalie, so this will take some time. This is not. I think the roster's not complete. I've said that before. I think there's more people are going to come. I'm not ready to give up on Nick Cushing. I think he's done well. He's trying to create competition for spots. I think that's the sort of the mixed bag. I think he has tried to create competition for spots where there really is no competition. So he's played Kevin O'Toole, he's played Gabe Siegel, like players who are not really MLS starting caliber necessarily, but he wants to send a message to some of the new guys and the guys who are hired to be like, you're not just guaranteed a spot. And I think that is good, and I think if it goes well, then these kids will have some experience. Newer players will come in, and there will be more depth, and it'll be good for everyone. Now, right now, the results are poor, and so that's obviously it's not going well right now. So, but I think I'm not ready to give up on Cushing. I think last year they went through kind of a tough stretch, and he did find solutions. And made a good playoff run. So I think he's deserved our trust and a little bit of patience. I mean, also I feel like, Daniel Young, not to single you out here. I think this is also just our fan base. I think we're we are a spoiled fan base. We've had it quite nicely. We've made the playoffs every year after year one. Every year that Jason Kreis was not the coach, we've made the playoffs, and we've done quite well overall, and that's not going to continue forever. At some point, you're going to have a down year, and so then I think patience and good cheer is the motto of the day, I would say.
I would say patience isn't a virtue of most fan groups here in MLS. I would say, not just in NYCFC. I mean, New York Red Bulls were very patient, but our fan base has shrunk considerably. I think people have left. Something I want to do, maybe this will be project down the road, is I want to take all the pictures of us winning the Shields and calling each and every single member in that picture and be like, "Where are you? Why are you guys not at the stadium anymore? Like, why are you gone?" It's like, if you're fans, be fans. But that's another topic. I think there's no relegation, so I think you're allowed to be more patient here in MLS. That's sort of the benefits of that. But and I do believe Nick Cushing at least gets the whole season. With Chris Klein,
I don't know about that.
Well, with Chris Klein and Greg Vanny, there's no reason for them to continue. Just in my opinion, like what are they waiting for? They've been in charge for years. It's been failures. It's now getting really, really bad. It's like just do it right now. All the Galaxy want is a change. I don't see any reason why you need to give them the rest of the season. It's only going to get worse for them.
So what about Greg Vanny? You keep him or
no? He gets canned too.
Also, everybody gets.
Just a fresh slate. Not that they're not talented. Not that Greg Vanny's not a great coach. I'm just saying the Galaxy need to change. They need to refresh. They need to get rid of the president and get a new coach. Just to tell the fans we're putting forth effort to improve ourselves.
Maybe he'll go back to Toronto.
Yeah, maybe Toronto could maybe use him, and then maybe Bob will go to LA. Maybe Greg and Bob will
just switch.
job switch. But NYCFC, if they finish the season missing the playoffs, does Nick Cushing get fired?
I mean, it just sort of depends on what happens. I think in terms of personnel. I think if
Bernardeschi comes down to NYCFC.
We don't
over
want
the summer.
Him. I don't want him.
They trade him. You got your star.
I don't want Bernardeschi. We need a 9. We need a scorer. We went from Castellanos and Haber to Gabe Siegel.
Isn't Gabi Pereira doing well?
He's a winger though. He's not a central striker. He's been good. Yeah, he's very Listen, I don't think this I think it is going to get better. I think the defensive stuff is going to get worked out. And I think we're just a couple. I think this is not a do-over. I think we're a couple of players away from being a playoff team for sure. So I think if by the end of the season we miss the playoffs, will Cushing keep his job? I don't know. I guess it's in the details. I guess it depends on if we don't sign anybody else.
Kai Kamara, Daniel Young. I'm surprised we haven't signed Kai Kamara. You guys should get Kai Kamara. He needs to do his New York tour.
Yeah, I mean, we're like one of the few teams he hasn't been at, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
I think it'd be good for you coming off the bench.
I'm sure he'll give us a couple weeks before his retirement. Yeah, let's do it. I'm down. I mean, we need something a little more long term than Kai Kamara, but yeah, for now, why not?
Joveljic isn't playing enough. He needs a team.
Gabe. I would take him in a heartbeat. Gabe Siegel. I mean, I think they're trying. I've heard there's been a lot of names sort of kicking around of strikers, and I mean, this is the thing. It's like with MLS and NYCFC specifically, they do not do panic. I guess probably because of the lack of relegation, they don't do panic signing, so they're patient. They look for value. They look for good players at reasonable rates, and that doesn't always work out. You gotta have a lot of contenders, not all of them. I guess when Haber came, Dom Torrent famously said that he was the 9th choice. That they had 8 other players.
Why would he say that out loud?
They were. That's I mean, this is just Dom Torrent was just an unhappy man, and. So he would say these things, but yeah, he was like, I got the what do you want me to do? I got the 9th choice striker who killed it. He scored 18 goals that year. So what are you complaining about? But I think somebody will come, and I think somebody will come. I think we'll turn it around. I'm gonna say we still make. I would still bet that we make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good that the New York Red Bulls are going to squeak in the playoffs too this year, hopefully, But yeah, we'll see. Okay, It seems like you're willing to give Nick Cushing a little bit more time.
I think it's neat. Like I think there's definitely times when the coach needs to change. I'm not
Sure.
saying, but I think
We had that at the Red Bulls. Yeah,
I
we
think
had that at the Red Bulls.
often, Struber. I mean,
He had to go, and
that guy
and
sucked.
credit to Red Bulls, they fired him
They
and they
fired
replaced
him
him.
eventually. Yeah,
We're over at LA Galaxy. You're not seeing that.
I think
they're
perhaps
doing,
Bob
yeah.
Bradley maybe time to move on. I don't
Yeah.
think Nick Cushing he deserves a little more time. I think he's
Got to give him the tools.
yeah,
and
he needs
expect
to
with
have
the
a
right
full
tools.
he needs to have a full squad and then see what he can do. And then if by the end of the season if we get a couple more good players and then we don't make the playoffs by the end of the season, then there's something else to think about. But not right now.
Very cool. I like that. Very sensible. We're very sensible here in the Schnitzel Boys.
Oh, very thank you.
Of course, we're not the whole out with your head, Greg Berhalter, none of that stuff.
No.
Anyway, last news and notes. We had a couple cup sets. Pittsburgh Riverhounds beat the
yeah.
Columbus Crew in a great little maybe new derby happening there in a beautiful little stadium overlooking the Pittsburgh skyline.
Yeah,
cool.
that was pretty cool. I saw just
pretty
a
cool.
a little bit of video of that. It was pretty cool.
Birmingham knocked over, was it Charlotte? Birmingham went through. So
yeah.
A couple of cup sets moving forward. I love it. And the big news is we have LAFC playing against Lyon next week, next week, something like that for the LAFC.
Is it this week?
For the CONCACAF Cup. I think it's on a Wednesday and a Sunday this week, right? I believe so. I will be in Las Vegas again this week. I decided to make myself a little escape because you inspired me with our Vegas talk. And there's a big thing called Stadium Swim, which is a giant pool and big screen TV on top of the Circa Hotel. My plan is to be there on Wednesday night to watch LAFC play Lyon while swimming. So wish me luck. I hope that happens.
Good luck.
Thank you. We'll see. Lass uns sehen. But yeah, I think that was this week in U.S. soccer. Some off-field drama. How long is Bob going to last? How long is Greg Vanny going to last? Is St. Louis still going to keep winning? Will Seattle Sounders pick themselves back up? Is the Philly Union hangover slowly coming towards the end?
Yeah.
Will the Bobby Wood
Bundesliga is over. Bundesliga is over. We're fully focused on MLS.
We got the Gold Cup. We got the
Leeds.
Nations League.
We didn't talk about Leeds. Leeds are done.
Yeah, the American experiment is over.
The American experiment is over.
I hate to say this, we're still not past the point where when you lean on Americans, you get relegated. I mean, I have to say
Tyler Adams being hurt didn't help.
But I'm talking for Bobby Wood, Josh Sargent. Just there's so many stories of Americans, and the American fans are always like, "Oh, the club is bad. He needs to find a new club." No, clubs are made up of the players that are on them. If the club is bad, it's because the player isn't doing a good job. Okay, that's why Bobby Wood is a New England Revolution striker right now. No, I'm glad he's getting his form back. But leaning on Americans tends to Clint Dempsey was a Fulham star, but he's a star because he bailed them out of relegation every season. Americans are relegation fodder players. They either get relegated or they just beat relegation. And that's sort of the Americans' role in Europe, right? I mean, that's a blanket statement. But there aren't a lot of Americans winning Champions League titles and winning league titles every year. Usually they're just hanging out in the relegation zone. So we haven't graduated from that yet. Tom, Norwich made a big mistake letting Faka go. Well, they have David Wagner now. So, and Faka at Gladbach, will he keep his job there?
No, he's going. They already let him.
Oh, yeah, they already got rid of him, right?
Yeah.
They already got rid of him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for Oliver Glasner to head over to Gladbach. If I had to.
Your favorite. You're the Glasner booster.
I'm the Glasner fan.
It's also it's really unfair, I feel, to really identify Leeds as the American club. Tyler Adams hasn't played in a while. He's been hurt. So it's been really just Wes McKinney. And, they've had the worst defense in the league 2 years in a row, almost. I think last year they were almost there. And Weston
McKinney was also criticized, Which is the thing. Weston
is
McKennie,
fair. I mean,
sometimes he can
obviously,
be good, but sometimes
there's-
you're like, what is his skill set exactly? You know what I mean? You're like, what is his skill set exactly?
There's a, there's always, no, anytime a team gets relegated, there's lots of fingers to point. But to say that Leeds is this FC America or whatever, it's really just been McKennie lately. Brendan Aronson hasn't played that much. Leeds did everything wrong in the season. They haven't. They didn't improve after Jesse. I'm not a Jesse Marsh stan, but they didn't get any better after he left.
No,
they had some interim person who really didn't know this. The Hoffenheim executives are still laughing that they got $35 million for Jorginho Rutter, who
I think that was a Jesse Marsh transfer though.
Who barely made it off the bench. They probably, So a lot went wrong for Leeds, and it's not because of American players that this has happened.
There is another club in England that has American players, and they're called Fulham.
Yeah,
and Fulham finished 7th this year, right, or 8th or something like that.
No,
they did great.
Not quite. It was more like 12th, but
no, are you sure? I'm looking right now. I mean, I'm sure you're right.
At some point they were high up like that, but they dropped some. Where did they end up?
They ended up, you're right, 10th place. But they were as high as like 7th or 8th throughout the season.
They were up there.
Yeah.
They were definitely overachieving. Tom says Leeds started falling when they let Bielsa go. Yeah, but I mean,
well, they were skidding with
that
Bielsa,
also was
and then Jesse Marsh.
It was time for him. It was time for Bielsa to go. I mean, some people
Jesse
say
Marsh did save them from relegation. If Bielsa was still coach, granted we can't know, but I would assume if Bielsa was still coach, they would have been relegated that season.
Perhaps, or it's hard to say.
Hard to prove.
But yes, they are a mess. Tom is right. Leeds is a mess. Yeah, they are. They're a mess. They did everything wrong. So it's not. I don't think it's fair to be like, oh yeah, they leaned on Americans and that's how they went. I mean, I think they did a lot of things wrong, and they
in the day,
they had it coming. You just got to defend, man. You can't just be like such a defensive. They have this big game of the season. They're trying to, and they go down like 2 minutes in against Tottenham, or how long did it take for them to concede? I mean, they're just a defensive shit show. You can't survive like that.
Back in the day, going on the American relegation fodder. Back in the day, Claudio Reyna was one of the Americans in the Prem. And he played for Sunderland, who got relegated, then went to Man City, who I think almost were relegated. Or I think they were relegated or something. He just also was like every club he went to, just sunk straight to the bottom. So, there is, as an American fan, I love the Americans, and that's why we put too much pressure on someone like Pulisic. We're still waiting on the American player who's just a club favorite week in, week out, player for a major club.
Well, it's also, I would also then, this is a good opportunity to caution the U.S. men's national team fans against overvaluing the player pool. Like we have this, there's that school of thought that says like the players are so good, the coach can only screw it up.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know,
Right now, there's more than ever.
Ball flach halten.
Keep the ball on the ground. Right now, because of the MLS Next and the MLS youth system, there's just a lot more of Americans going to Europe, which is good because it's a numbers game.
Yeah, there's a lot of promise. There's a lot happening. There's a lot to be excited about for sure.
And percentage-wise, more likely, some Americans are going to hit. Yeah. When in the old days, it was
the U20 team is doing well again at the World Cup. It's like there is that. I was talking to somebody about that. It's like just the fact that we're paying so much attention. Like in Germany, nobody gives a shit about the U20 World Cup. It's like we know that this is like these are hopefuls. These are not sure prospects. This is like a showcase for potential. That's why we had that discussion of like, should the clubs let him go? It's like if you have a starting job at a pro club, you've graduated. Like you're beyond this. This is not. You don't need the U20 World Cup. So, anyway, those are my little rantings.
Ricardo Pepi, everyone's like, oh, he's amazing. He's scoring goals in the Eredivisie. Groningen are relegated. So Americans love relegation. You heard it here first. Actually, no, you heard it everywhere.
We don't have it here.
Yeah.
We don't have it here. We want to go to Europe to experience getting relegated.
But again, a lot of Americans, they're young. I'm hoping over the next few seasons we see certain players grow into bigger clubs and become consistent performing players.
I'm sure. And there's lots of, I mean, Christian Pulisic is going to presumably find a new team and perhaps.
My wish for Pulisic is for him to go to like an Aston Villa. You know, like time and time again, especially Chelsea alum. You do your big clubs, your rotation player, whatever. Go to a smaller club where you can play week in and week out, really get your confidence back, really get your mojo back, and then go to another bigger club when you're 28, when you're in your prime. He should
go to Italy. He should go to Serie A. Perfect for him.
Yeah, he'd be by far the youngest player.
He'd be one of the younger players. I think he'd be great. I think he'd be great in Italy. I think Italy would be perfect for him.
Tom says relegation builds character. 100%.
That's right.
100%. That's right. Okay, do you have any thoughts with Americans and USA and MLS?
That's it.
Days of our lives?
We're going long again.
Yeah, as much as we try to keep it short, there's just so much to talk about. But this week's Batch Days of Our Lives. Next week's episode, will Bob still be a job? Will Bernardeschi be playing? Will Chicharito finally score a goal again? Will Ricky Puig not throw his arms in the air?
Hold on. Hans Wolf. Section 237 at halftime on Saturday. I'll be there with a t-shirt. 237, we're going to meet up with Daniel Young at halftime.
Bjorn will have a fashion t-shirt cannon.
I'll have your shirt. It's not going to be a t-shirt. I'm just going to hand it to you.
No.
It's not going to be a whole thing. I'm not going to do cartwheels, but that's
we gotta figure out a t-shirt can situation next time.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Hans. Thank you, Daniel.
Cheers, everyone. Good luck, everybody.
All right.
Bis nächste Woche.
Tschüss.
Goodbye. Till next week, everybody.
Bye.